I am not a fan of the message of do what you love, leave your job and do what you love. I find that arrogant. I find it very short-sighted, and entitled.
We are represented. We are represented. We are represented.
Welcome to Represented, the podcast. I'm Aniki Shuru, racial equity coach for online business owners who want to be intentionally inclusive by building a business that is racially equitable. I created this podcast to normalize a conversation around racial inclusion so that fear is no longer the barrier that gets in the way of doing this work. This isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Whether you're taking your first steps or you're well-versed in the journey towards racial equity, this space is for you. So welcome home, friend. Let's get started.
From coast to coast, around the globe, we are represented. We are represented. We are represented.
Today's conversation with Kemi Nekvapil has been so good. Honestly, you have to share it with somebody you love, somebody who is in your life, if it's your bestie, your mom, your sister, anybody who is in your life, because the things we cover here are just so vast, but so needed right now. It was centered around her book, Grounded Success, and it is a woman's guide to cultivating success on her own terms. And we got to talk about things such as self-worth, identity, matters to do with race, nature, and just creating success on our own terms. This is a book that we need right now, particularly with everything that's, happening in the world, to be reminded that success doesn't have to look a certain way, how it's been packaged or what we've been led to believe. Maybe it's to do with money or numbers or something that is so descriptive to maybe where you're not or what you don't see success to be, that success can be actually something that is personal to you and fills your cup. I love the conversation, and Kemi was asking questions back to me, which I loved, how things just organically flowed. In case you do not know who Kemi Nekvapil is, and if you don't, you absolutely should be racing over to social media to follow her because she's absolutely phenomenal. Let me tell you a little bit about her. Kemi Nekvapil is one of the world's leading credentialed coaches for female executives and entrepreneurs. Kemi is also a professional speaker, facilitator who has worked in the wellness industry for more than 25 years and in holistic leadership for 10 years. Training with Dr. Brene Brown in Texas in 2019, Kemi facilitated the Dare to Lead program for 5 years. She is the author of 4 books, Raw Beauty, The Gift of Asking, and bestseller, Power, A Woman's Guide to Living and Leading Without Apology, and most recently, Grounded Success, A Woman's Guide to Cultivating Success on Her Own Terms. Power Talks with Kemi Nekvapil is her Audible original podcast. Kemi's weekly newsletter, The Harvest, which she writes from her flower farm on Wurundjeri Woi Wurrung country here in Australia, cultivates nature-based connection and leadership practices, as well as personal essays. Without further ado, here is my friend, Kemi Nekvapil. Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Represented Podcast. And I'm so excited to bring to you my beautiful friend, Kemi Nekvapil. Welcome.
Hi, Annie. So good to be here.
I am happy to have you. And the words you said before I pressed record were, I trust you, Annie. And so we're going there today. We're going to do the deep asking of questions.
Okay.
And I cannot wait to see where this takes us and what we unfold during this time. But I want to start with a question that, as I was preparing, I was thinking, did you always want to become an author, or is it something that you stumbled into? Did it call to you? How did the journey begin?
Great question, actually. It's no, I did not think that I was going to be an author. I did not know that I was allowed to be an author. I didn't know that I was allowed to be a writer. So I was educated in the UK in the 1980s, and the canon, the classic canon,
Mhm.
um, was all the white dudes that are now dead. And then at some point in there, maybe I was about 18 actually before I started reading Toni Morrison, Maya Angelou. Um, but for me, then they were still African American women. So
Yeah,
for some reason, I wasn't making the connection of, oh, they're Black women that are writing books, so maybe I could do that.
right.
And I cannot tell you how far out of my like concept being an author was. But when I had two young children at home, and I was blessed that my husband and I were living, well, he was actually my boyfriend. We were living in sin with his parents and our two children. Um, but when I was living with my in-laws, which meant that we didn't have to pay rent, which meant that I could, like, I wanted to be at home and I could stay at home.
Right.
And because we weren't paying rent or anything like that. And I decided that I would start writing a newsletter. At that point, I was very much in the food space and I was looking at what is it to raise kids with seasonal
Yeah.
food grown in the garden, recipes and all that sort of thing. So that's when I really started writing. I loved English at school, but
Mhm.
once again, there was no aspect of, do you want to be a writer or could I be a writer or, any of those things.
Yeah.
So then I just started writing weekly and really enjoyed that space and enjoyed the sort of attention to detail, the things that you see when you're a writer. I
Mhm.
started to enjoy that. And then I did the Artist Way when we took our kids out of school when they were 9 and 11. I did Julia Cameron's Artist Way 3-month program. And it was in that program in 2014. Like it's a self-paced, it's just a book.
Yeah.
But it was in that program in 2014 where I decided I am going to write for an audience every single Friday at 8 a.m. And that was 11 years ago now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't know it was there was such a deep story to it.
Yeah, right. Well, you said deep questions. Sorry if that was too much information, but it's such an interesting thing to look back. So then the author bit came in,
Mhm.
actually someone that's become a dear friend of mine, Andrew Griffith. I saw him speak on stage. He was someone who had come from not the same background as me. He's white Australian male,
Mm.
but had had a really challenging upbringing. And he was an author. And so even though he wasn't the physical mirror of me, and I was like,
Wow.
he's just given me permission because I've been writing for a few years then.
Mhm,
And I
mhm.
was like, I'm not going to wait to be anointed. I'm going to write a book because I want to write a book. And I did a course with him that was over a year. And that's when I actually self-published my first book, Raw Beauty. That was 2016, I think. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
maybe 15.
Okay. And your career has been so diverse. Like you've done
Mhm.
so many different things, and I wanna ask about that. But before we get into that, I have been blessed to read two of your books. I've got here Grounded Success, which is where most of my questions are coming from, and this one, which is pretty special to me, Power. Love this one. Uh, and I've just been devouring this current one. And by the way, thank you for the package it came in. My
Oh.
kids were like, "What kind of friends do you have, Mom? Like, what do you do to get such packages?"
So good. That's good. Then there's that you're modeling to them that you should be sent gifts often
Yes,
through the
yes.
post. Yeah.
And so it just gave me the most beautiful package, and I must share that on social media at some point.
I'm just
But
glad you loved it.
um, is there, so in reading both of the books, Grounded Success and Power,
Mm.
the question that came to me is, what is the difference to you between power and success? Because for some people,
Mm.
it could be one and the same thing. To be powerful is to be successful.
Yeah. But then we have to break down what does power mean, which, as you know, I spend quite a bit of time in the book explaining that power is the ability to do something in a particular way. So we are very much at the moment at the mercy of a certain form of power in the world. And that kind of those people that have that level of power, that is success to them. And what we do with our power, that's the rub. What do we do with the power that we have?
Mhm.
So for some people, yes, that ability to have agency in our lives, regardless of our title, is a form of power. The ability to take responsibility for our lives and not to feel even for those of us that have felt like a victim or have been victimized in our lives, whatever reason, at some point, if we want to feel power in our own lives, we have to take responsibility and look at, okay, no one else is coming to make this better for me.
Yeah.
So, what are the resources I need, or who do I need to ask to make this better for me? For me, there is definitely a link between success and power. Although when I wrote the books, I wasn't thinking of the link of the two. I was more in the space of power was about unwrapping a narrative and what we think power is. And success was about unpacking success and what we think success is. So, kind of the thing that links the two books for me. And also, my second book, The Gift of Asking, is what have we been told as women about asking, about power, and about success? And do those messages work for us?
Hmm. Do those messages work for us? And you have unpacked that and given us a picture of what success is in our own terms.
Mm-hmm.
Your way of writing, and I mentioned this to you when we connected last week, is so permission giving. It's like it's okay to think like this, Annie. If this is what lights you up,
Mm,
if this is what you want to do and it fills your cup, then go ahead and do it.
yeah,
Like it shouldn't be measured by other people's standards of what is powerful or successful. It's not measured by money, numbers, or anything else that we put up there on a pedestal.
yeah,
It is what is filling us and enriching us.
yes.
Mm, I love that it gives us permission because
Mm.
as much as I went into the book knowing that that is your way of writing, I just felt very affirmed and I felt
Mm.
successful reading it. I'm like, bit of a success, I can
Yeah,
find
that's
that
right.
for
Just strutting,
myself.
just got a bit of a strut as you're walking down the street.
Yeah, yeah.
And look, one of the things I talk about in the book again and again, there are certain industries or, that actually the external measure is the awards or the bonus or the party and that is fine. We just don't want to anchor our feelings of success on those external measures because those external measures are fleeting and they're fragile. And as I talk about in the book, sometimes you get the award, you get the bonus, and then it's just fear. Am I going to get the award again? Am I going to get the
Yeah.
bonus again? And that is not a feeling of success. And so for me, it's if you want, and we live in a society where one of the major systems we all have to operate in is the system of capitalism. And we know that money gives freedom and agency and choice. But
Mhm.
once again, it's looking at and I say in the book, if you are doing work that you love and you're getting paid well for that work, you are in the like 1% of the world. I am not a fan of the message of do what you love, leave your job and do what you love. I find that arrogant. I find it very short-sighted,
Mhm.
and entitled. Some people's success is I have a job. And with that job, I earn money. And with that money, I can put food on the table, either for myself,
Right.
my family, whatever. But for those of us that have jobs that we love, to root that in a sense of what does success feel like to me is going to be different for us in different seasons of our lives. And this kind of generic narrative that we've all been given that success is about status and it's about money has so many people feeling disconnected from themselves, other people, nature, the land, relationships. Yeah, it's not going well in some ways.
In many ways, I think.
Yeah.
And just bringing back and kind of closing this off on power and success and the two books.
Mm.
Can you have power and not have success, or vice versa? Can you have success and not have power?
Great question. Give me a moment. Are you a coach by any chance? Can you have power and not have success? I feel like that's an individual answer. So my individual answer at this moment of time when you're asking me,
Yeah.
I definitely think it's definitely possible to have sex without success without power. I think.
Mhm.
Is it possible to have power without success? I feel like it's circumstantial, Annie.
Yeah.
I think it depends in what systems and spaces you're operating in, actually. Yeah, I'm going to think about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let
Yeah.
that
I
one
want to
run.
respond. I don't want to react. That's a good question. Like, I really want to think about that.
Yeah,
And I know that this is so funny because people are listening and going, I know the answer. That's like,
and
and I
it's
wonder what each
individual.
individual's answer would be.
It's
Exactly.
individual for everybody
Yeah.
because I actually got this question. I don't know what I was doing, but I literally had to stop because I've been
Yeah.
thinking about this conversation for a while and I
Yeah.
had to write it down. I had to write it
Yes.
in my notes app so that I
Yeah.
didn't forget because it didn't come to me sitting at my desk preparing. It came to me when I was doing something else. I think I might have been cooking or something. And I was like,
Yes.
I have to ask this question.
So what's your answer? Because you've been thinking about it longer than me.
Um, there are things in like I feel successful at the end of the day
Mm-hmm.
when my family is happy. Like it gives me so much joy.
Mm-hmm.
Our dinner table, I call
Mm-hmm.
it the healing table. Because this is
Mm.
where we come and we just lay it all out. We laugh, we make fun of each other, we create memories, we enjoy the food. Like I can cook a mean meal and I make some really good meals. And I've just stepped into that like in the last couple of years, like my cooking has just whoop, is just on
Mm.
another level. And so coming together is such a joy for all of us.
Mm.
And so success for me at the end of the day is just the smiles, the conversations and how everybody's feeling going to bed.
Mm.
That to me is success.
Mm.
Do I feel powerful about it? Not necessarily. I don't feel like,
No.
wow, wow, feel
Well,
powerful. I feel successful, but I don't
yeah.
necessarily feel powerful. Because for me, power is still rooted in some form of masculinity. It's
Yeah,
still
that's right.
something
Yeah.
I'm dealing with and
Yeah.
unpacking. There are times I feel powerful when I put through my perspective and perhaps convinced, particularly when
Mm-hmm.
it comes to clients, when it's matters to do with race, anti-racism. There are times I
Mm-hmm.
feel really powerful when I'm putting
Yeah.
my what I've learned in my research across. But other times, I view success higher than power.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because there's two questions I sort of want to put in there is then what happens if you're sat around the dinner table? Because if I remember, are your kids teenagers yet or just are they tweens? I can't remember. How old are
I
they?
have a twin and I have an 8-year-old. So
Enjoy the years where it's all happy at the table. Like seriously enjoy them. Because my question is then what happens then? Do you feel less successful if you're sat around the table and the kids are not happy and it's a bit of a blah and one of them's a bit, hormonal? What does that feeling then give you as a mother? Do you feel less successful if everyone isn't happy? Like I'm curious to know.
My success, and I should have said this because it
Mm,
seemed like it was based on other people's
mm,
feelings.
mm.
My success is based on how my cup feels at the end of the day.
Yeah, right.
If I have like just crushed it in the kitchen, I've done a good job, or even
Mm,
even if I haven't, because there are times it's been a bomb and to be like,
yeah.
"Ooh, mom, don't make this
Mum,
again."
we thought your cooking was going up, but
Yeah, yeah, don't make this again. Like it was my husband's birthday a few weeks ago, and I made what he called his favorite cake. And it wasn't.
yeah,
It didn't
it
work.
happens.
It
Yeah.
wasn't nice. The kids were like, I'm not eating this. Push. It was pushed aside. It was an orange cake, and the bitterness
Ah, the
scale factor
rind.
what the rind. The
Yeah,
rind is just a little bit too much.
yeah.
And so it wasn't, but I didn't beat myself up for it. I was like,
No.
look, I made it. The crumb is absolutely perfect and moist. I'm proud of me for giving
Yeah.
it a go. So my success, how I feel, is not based on their feelings
Their
or,
feelings. It's how you feel.
it's
Yeah.
how I feel.
Because I think we can bring power to the dinner table because looking at how I broke it down, presence, ownership, wisdom,
Yeah.
equality, and responsibility. It's like the presence is present to family, ownership of this is who we are, this is our family, the wisdom of just what it takes to be a parent, equality of these are my people, we are the same here. And then responsibility. I'm responsible for myself and how I show up, and I'm responsible while the children are this age, I'm also responsible for their care. So once again, it depends how we look at it.
You have just tied it up for me because one of the notes, because I was journaling as I was reading Grounded Success, and one of the things that I defined success for me was presence. In
Oh,
this
yeah, yeah,
time, for
yeah,
me, is being
yeah,
present to my family.
yeah, yeah.
And one of the things that I shared with you last week was I felt so good when my son had to stay home because he wasn't well. And I was going to get a hot chocolate in the morning, and he was with me in the back seat. And I just felt so successful because there was a time in my life when taking time off work wasn't as easy. And
Yeah.
we had to juggle. We had to figure out who's going to take the time off because someone has been taking time off more than the other one.
Yeah.
Who's going to stay home with the sick child? Who's going to take the child who's not well to the doctors? Who's going to do all of
Yeah.
these things while still, keeping up with their work, the demands of work?
Yeah.
And to be able to look at my schedule and go like, today I can cancel
It's
this,
me. Yeah.
two, three calls, and
Yeah.
I will be present with
Yeah.
my son. And it didn't feel like it, I just felt successful. I
Yeah.
didn't feel like, oh no, look at me, I have all this time. I felt so
Yeah.
good. And
Yeah.
still being able to have the kind of life that fills me up. I was there for him, I was present for him for everything. And that's the season I am in life right now, that if my family needs me, I can drop things. I can go like, Kemi, this is not gonna work right now. I gotta
Yeah.
go
I
to
gotta go.
this.
Yeah.
And it's okay,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And it is what I write about in the book, that success isn't just about how it looks. I think so. That's what we've been told. Success should look like this.
Yeah.
And the question that's missed is, how do you want to feel? So if you
Mm.
have the things, let's go for like all the things, right? So let's just say you have the 18-bedroom villa, you have the yacht, you have the cars,
Yes.
you have all the things, but you don't feel good.
Mhm.
What does it mean? Like, what does it mean? What does it cost you to actually get there? If we think about, if we're only focusing on, now, I don't know these individual people, but the richest man in the world and the richest woman in Australia, from what I last read, and I'm not someone that keeps up to date on the news, their children don't speak to them.
Mm.
So for me as a parent, I would have to do some serious reckoning with myself if there was no way that I would feel successful. Um, And, estrangement happens in families for many different reasons, for all different various reasons. So I'm not putting a judgment on that. But for me, it kind of goes to that presence thing. What was it that I missed or am missing?
Mhm.
Or who is it that I am being or need to be to not have that happen?
Mm. Mm.
And it's interesting, like I'm even thinking of it as a and there are people that have 18-bedroom villas and the yachts and the cars, and their families talk to them and they have the best time. Like, do you know what I mean? But it's just that thing of, what is the individual? What is your definition of it?
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
And I like that that is the permission that the book gives us. It
Mm,
gives us permission to define success on our own terms, which is exactly what it says.
yeah.
And I love that because your success is not my success. And
No.
it allows me to celebrate me and you for the
Yeah.
differences that we have.
Yes. Yes.
You see, and the world we live in tries to put us in a box whereby if you don't fit in here, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
haven't achieved what should be achievable.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And it's so interesting. Like, it's so funny because, the whole book of Grounded Success is based, through the lens of nature and reminding
Mm,
us that we are beings of nature. We are not machines. We have machines, and machines can be very, very helpful. I'm very glad I have a laptop in which we can converse in different states. Like, machines are a tool for human beings to use, but human beings are beings of nature. And the
mm,
further we get away from that, the more disconnected we feel, the more depressed we are, the more isolated and lonely we become. And so, what I have been noticing is that so many of us, in our various different ways, are actually going back to things that do connect us with
yeah.
our nature, creativity, like reading, whether it's
Mhm.
whether it's with a tool or whether it's with a book. That there are ways now that people are realizing the world is moving very fast. And if success is getting the next AI platform, and the next success is getting the reel out, and it's like, where does it end? Like, it's moving
Mhm.
so fast.
Can't
To be
keep up.
able to literally slow down, like I went on a walk around the farm this morning, slowing down, I was looking at some birds I hadn't seen before, and I was also trying to make a decision in my head, and I just knew as I stepped out the door, you'll have the answer by the time you get back in the house. And it was only a 20-minute walk, but I wasn't plugged in.
Mm, mm,
I was looking, actually harvested some beautiful branches and various things. And I came back, and as I was arranging those branches in a vase, I had the answer. Like I just, and it's that thing of how do we give ourselves the time? And this is what I wanted the book to be like. That's why it's a guide. It's like, how do we give ourselves the time to actually reflect on what does success mean to me
yeah,
as a seasonal being in this season of my life? Because seasons are always changing, and how it is now is going to be different in a year, 2 years, could even be different, next week.
yeah,
But if we're looking at seasons and times, I think one of the most powerful things in the work that I do, Annie, and I know you do similar work, is so many of us have the answers, like inwardly, we have the answers around what success means to us, but we haven't taken the time to actually stop and reflect and
yeah.
ask ourselves the questions
Mm,
that the world then that we step into once we've done that is very different, because then you can decide I've done the work and actually I do want the car and the this and the a particular car and a particular color with this, and that's your creative expression or your full self-expression in the world. Or for others it's like I don't even believe in petrol. And I live in a flat village, and
yeah.
everyone here, maybe you live in Amsterdam or something, everyone rides. Who needs a
Mhm,
car? I got a
mhm.
car because I thought I needed it. But when I look at it, I actually don't even value, I don't
Right.
value that mode of transport. I value fresh air on my face. Do you know what I mean? Like it's that thing of
Absolutely.
taking the time.
Mm, I love that. And it reminds me of all of July. I took all of July off and I
Mm,
went back home to Kenya on my own, something I have never done since we got
mm.
married.
Oh,
16 years I haven't done that.
yeah.
And I went home because I wanted to spend time with my parents. My
Yeah.
dad had had a little bit of a health scare earlier in the
Hmm.
year. I had to find time in my schedule when I could go, just a clean run
Yeah.
where I wasn't like taking calls or anything like that. So all of July was clear and went home. And it was the biggest gift I've ever given myself in the longest time. And going back to the village specifically, they live in the city, but I
Yeah.
made time to go back to the village and just seeing how much I had been removed from that kind of lifestyle where
Mm.
people just rock up in the morning, Kemi, nobody announces, they're there, good morning, how you doing, how did you sleep, and just a whole story for like an hour. Does this person have somewhere to go? Like, how do you just come unannounced? I'm still in bed. The
Yeah.
bedroom's like at the front. I can
Yeah.
hear him. He is so
Yeah.
loud. I'm thinking, is this a relative that I can't remember? Who is
Yeah.
this who's so comfortable like it's his house? And he just kept coming every day at the end of the day, and just people
Yeah.
just pouring in and out, and they're giving cups of tea, some bread to eat. Like
Yeah.
that's
Hospitality.
just the culture. That's the culture.
Yeah.
And that's how they thrive. There's
Yeah.
community, there's connection.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah.
I didn't want
Yeah.
to document anything. I didn't want to take photos.
Mm.
And if I took them, I took them for me. If
Yeah.
I was videoing to send back to the kids and my
Yeah.
husband and say, this is the farm, this is what's happening, this is what's growing. It
Yeah.
was so different. And I felt so far removed from my life in Australia and
Yeah.
everything that I've curated. And I just came back so much fuller. Life felt
Mm.
so much fuller being in nature and looking at it in ways I hadn't looked at it before. The
Mm.
stillness, the quietness, looking at the wind and how the trees move and almost like how they speak to you in the wind. Like there was just
Yeah.
so much of that that I
Yeah.
never paid attention to
Yeah.
before.
And this is the thing, isn't it? I mean, one of the things that I say, one of the things that I quote in the book is there's a difference between displaying a lifestyle and living a life.
Mm.
Now, you could have been in Kenya. So, look, here I am in Kenya, blah, blah. And looking at this idea of presence or this idea of being grounded, for me personally, I find it very difficult to be present in my life and recording it at the same time.
Yeah.
I cannot, I have friends that can do it. I cannot. I have to do, I'm doing one or the other. I'm
Yeah.
either not present and I'm recording, or I am present and no one knows what's going on. And I love, Annie, the thing that any of us that work for ourselves, it's obviously different if you're working within a corporation or you're working within a business where you're not the boss. I was talking to a friend about this the other month, actually. No one knows when we're working, right? Our clients know when we're working because
Yeah.
hopefully we have appointments with them and we show
Yeah.
up, blah, blah. But otherwise, no one, if you're off for July in Kenya and you're not recording on it, no one's going, like, where's Anik? Like,
Yeah. What happened?
is she working? Is she not working? What did she do? Do you know what I mean? It's this thing of this weird relationship with time
Yeah.
or what
Yeah.
we think we're supposed to be doing, as opposed to
Mhm.
I'm a business owner and my responsibility and my commitment is to my clients. And outside of that time, I get to do what I want.
Mhm.
That is
Mhm.
success to me. I'm not a follower of Tony Robbins, but one of the quotes of his that I love is, I think it was around success, but just the idea of success is doing what I want, when I want, with whom I want, for as long as I want, wherever I want. Like, so
Okay.
that then becomes a definition that is open to interpretation.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Oh, now
yeah,
that's powerful. That's
yeah,
powerful, Tony.
yeah,
That
yeah.
is powerful. And I have to ask a question. This love that you have for nature, that you've made me love, like just reading the book, I've fallen in love with, okay, I want to know more about plants. Should I go to Bunnings and buy a potted
Mm,
plant and see how that does?
yeah,
Like, I've become really, really curious
yeah,
about nature.
yeah.
Your love for it, is it something that you saw somebody love and then you kind of began to love it? Or was it just something that was in you, in you? Was it something you saw and you're like, I like that person, I admire them, and
Mm,
because sometimes we see people who we like,
yeah,
and because of what they like, we end
yeah,
up liking that.
yeah, yeah,
I want to know where this whole love for nature came
yeah. So firstly, I do have to say, because I feel like I have to say it from a value set. If you decide to buy a plant, yes, Bunnings works. But if you go to a local nursery, you can literally say to them, I have this room, this is where the light is, this is where the shade is. I'm not very good with
from.
plants, or I am, or I've got a young kid or a cat. And people that are in those independent nurseries will help you. And, so that if you decide to go and get a plant, because I want you to give it a good, I want you to set yourself up for success, Annie, with your pot plant. If you get it from
There's a
Bunnings and there's no
nursery.
info,
I drive past. There's a
yeah.
nursery, and I'm like this. I'm like,
Right.
what's in there?
People
Like, you
that
need
people
to
that hang out
stop
in
and go in.
nurseries, yeah, people that hang out in nurseries are present and grounded people because they're with plants and outside all the time. But no, no, look, no, I grew up with nature. I grew up in Kent, which is known as England's country garden. I grew up in nature. And to be honest, for those of us human beings that don't feel a connection to nature, that is the unnatural version of it.
Mm,
The for most of us, we are more of ourselves when we're either by the sea, by trees, going for a walk. I mean, look what happened in COVID. That's all I need to say. Look what
oh yeah,
happened in
yeah,
COVID,
yeah, for sure.
right? So all the systems that we knew, the industrial capitalist system, all broke down, right? Well, in some ways. So then what was happening, and I actually cried at one point, there were queues outside of my local nursery with a sign saying only 4 punnets per person. And I was like, this is when stuff gets real. People are realizing I need to know how to grow my own food, you
Wow.
know. So there was that aspect of it, but there was also the aspect of just being able to tend something, having
Mhm,
power
mhm,
over like responsibility and ownership over,
mm.
wow, we're going to get tomatoes. Look, everyone. And then the way that people were spending time outside. But I have to say, as someone that spends a lot of time outside, as a runner and a hiker, it was packed my normal route during those COVID years.
Yeah.
And as soon as everyone started going back out into the world, it was unpacked again. So it's an interesting thing, our human relationship with our external nature and our internal nature.
Okay.
Yeah,
Alrighty.
yeah.
Um, there's a story you tell in Grounded Success about starting your coaching business
Mm-hmm.
and hiring a coach
Mm-hmm.
and going down the route of what you thought was a successful business. You did
Mm-hmm.
all the things, hired an office, got a little team happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, hang on, this is, first of all, it's not sustainable right now at this point in this phase
Mm-hmm.
of my business. And what that coach had as success wasn't what success was for you.
Mm-hmm.
Could you just share a little bit of that story? Because the people listening to this
Yeah.
online business owners.
Yeah.
And we've been given this picture of what success is, particularly through social media. That's what
Yeah.
you're feeding yourself. You're
Yeah.
feeling like I should be there like yesterday.
Yeah.
Tomorrow is too late.
Yeah. And this was before social media as well when I started my business. Thank goodness. Although,
I
as I said, I'm
mean,
I'm up for being very efficient. So my business has always been kind of very old school, in some ways.
yeah.
But and she wasn't a coach, so that's kind of one thing I shared. I thought she was a coach. She wasn't a coach. She was someone that had a really great marketing plan, and I bought the
Okay.
product. She was more of a consultant. She had her template, and her job was to fit me into her template because her template worked for her. That is not coaching. That
Mm,
is consulting. That is something else. But I didn't know that then. And so I paid the money, and she was a lovely human, but trying to fit me into her template had me crying most days. Like I have never felt more of a failure than
wow.
going through that. And as a client with a coach, especially, you should never feel like that.
Mm-mm.
And yeah, I thought, okay, I'm making a profit now. I need to get this person. I need to get this person. Um, and then I just realized that my bank account was being drained and I didn't actually want an office somewhere else. I thought I actually really like working in our old house, looking at my apple trees. It just
Mhm.
made me really realize what is it you're going for? And I had said to her, actually, so at that point I was in the raw food space. And I had said, she said, how much money do you want to make? And I just come up with a random number. Like I just plucked it out of the air in a way that people go, I want to make $1 million. Like, for what purpose?
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like we just pluck out these numbers. And she goes, oh, that's great. Well, you only need to sell, I can't remember exactly what it was, but she was like, yeah, well, you only need to sell 78 trillion DVDs. And I remember going, awesome, great. But I woke up the next morning thinking, I don't want to sell 70 trillion. Do you? Actually, it was, I do not want to do the work that it is going to take to sell that amount of product to make an arbitrary number that I
Yeah.
plucked out of the air because that's what I think I should want to make. And I just felt heavy and heavy and heavy, and money's going out of my account, and money's going out of my account, and I'm trying to jump through hoops and do all the things. And it ended badly, but it was what I needed because it was what and I sort of, I share in the book kind of where I went to a very low, dark place and questioned my ability to run a business, to be a business owner and all those sorts of things. But it was good because it was that kind of getting to that made me realize you just went after something that actually you don't want. That's why it feels so bad, which is why I talk in the book about, the three wisdom centers. What do we think? What do we feel? What do we know in our gut, in our intuition? And working out how to integrate those three wisdom centers can be a very powerful way to navigate business as well as our lives.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we need to hear more of these stories because there aren't enough of these stories. I think people just talk about their success stories. We're meeting them when they've made it.
Yeah.
And there
And what does
isn't
that
that
mean?
thing.
And even what does that mean? The making it. And I have to say, the book, the thing that happened to me after that, like as I say in the book, my biggest failure in business so far, right? Because what does making it mean? Like, yes, at the moment things are going well, but I don't know what's going to happen. But I actually started listening to, I don't even know if it's still on, a podcast called Entrepreneur on Fire with Johnny
Mhm.
Dumas, I think it was. And
Yeah,
I would
absolutely.
inhale his podcast because it was all about the failure. He would ask the guests, what has been your biggest failure? So then I started to think, oh, this is part of entrepreneurship. It's like with me now stepping into flower farming. It's like, oh, listening to lots of flower farming podcasts and interviews. And you hear, what are the top 10 mistakes? It's like, oh, great. I'm on number three. Awesome. Great. It's like, this is part of the process. This idea that success is this trajectory that just goes up is
Mm-mm.
ridiculous. It doesn't
Mm-mm.
happen that
It's
way.
not true. It is not true. And so, what is it that was a success for you in your 30s that right now you look back, you're like, oh gosh, that is not success for me right now because success changes.
What was a success for me in my 30s that doesn't look like success now? I think I was still at home. I was still at home with the children then.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't think there was anything I did in my 30s that I wouldn't consider to be success, actually, because what was great for me was that I was able to and wanted to be at home with the kids. But I also had this thing around that time, sort of my early business that was called Food Traditions, that I was very aware was making a difference to people. You know, like it was the impact that I was having in having conversations with parents about food and food traditions and what it means. And if we focus on Johnny not eating his peas at the table, we're missing, like what you say, healing. We're missing connection and presence. Johnny, if Johnny is raised in Australia in a middle class family, Johnny has 5 meals a day. Johnny can deal with not eating his peas, and we can really hone in on that. So I think I'm someone that is very gut focused, and I've had to sort of learn, to come up from the gut, and the people that are in their head have to learn to go down to the gut. I
Mhm.
have generally always followed my intuition. So I have rarely found myself in positions where I have regretted, something so badly. But there are times when I've gone, you actually intuitively knew that that was not the thing to do. You
Yeah.
got seduced, and generally it's not. And you're like, you might understand this, Annie. I remember at one point getting into a situation where a woman had approached me. She was American. My gut said, do not get involved with this woman in any way whatsoever. But then she said to me, this is when I was in the raw food space. She said, you will be the only person of color in the book. And I think it's really important to have diverse voice. And I had a great coach at the time, once it started to go a little bit haywire with this woman. And she said, you are always, because you're so committed to contributing to women of color, you are going to be seduced, you are going to override what you know to say yes in these situations. And luckily, I managed to pull out of that before it kind of went really badly. But, I talk about as a coach, sometimes we need to know what we're going to be seduced by. So my intuition at that point said no, but then my head was like, you should. Otherwise, people are going to think that this raw food space isn't for people of color, and it's for anyone that wants to add more life to their lives. So I would say this is a long-winded way of saying there was nothing in my 30s that I did, and I share that kind of biggest failure, but nothing that felt like success then that doesn't still feel like success now. I just think any time in my life where I have felt fragmented and like out of my body has felt not success.
Okay. And so, with the changing of seasons, where
Mm,
you've gone like, this is what I was doing raw foods, and then you transitioned into different things, and I think
mm,
you were naming it at some point, saying you've had so many different careers.
mm.
How did you know when it was time to move on? When did it feel not grounded anymore,
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
needed to go and create more ground
yeah.
somewhere else where it felt
I
successful?
could actually, it was so clear for me actually with the raw food thing. So there was something that was going on. So social media was starting. And when I had my raw food business, the tagline was add more raw. And it was never about weight, body size, external things. It was about giving your body energy. We're beings of nature. We need to eat
Yeah.
nature more, right? But Instagram was coming in, and I started to notice that people were starting to use raw food in Australia, and it was becoming about body and diet and dress sizes. And I was like, this is now not a space that I want to navigate. But I was still in it because at the time, there wasn't anyone doing raw food in corporate spaces in the way that I was doing it and stuff like that. And I was enjoying it. But I remember one day, I can't remember where I was, but I literally was making a green smoothie in a
Mhm.
blender, something. And I remember pressing start and I just thought to myself, I am so bored. I am so bored. I have nothing more to say about green smoothies. Basically, you put it in and you press start. And obviously, I was doing a lot more around raw food and recipes and that sort of thing. But that for me, I'm a creative person, even though I've had different careers, they've all been creative. I started as a baker. I moved from baking to chefing, from chefing to acting. As a coach, we're creative. I've always knitted. I'm a painter. So for me, I have to have a creative expression in the world. It's just that the creative expression has looked different in different seasons. Um, but when I feel bored, then I need to change things up. I will never continue doing something because it puts money in the bank, even when I was not earning good money. When I was temping, when I was at drama school, and I do temping jobs, and if I had temping jobs where the people were not nice, but the money was good, I would not go back. I couldn't be in a space because I felt fragmented. I felt out of myself. I didn't feel safe. It's like there's no amount of money that actually makes it worth me being here. Now, people can't always make those choices, but I talk about in the book, we have to be careful that we don't have this idea of, well, it's all right for you. I think when we say, well, it's all right for her, that's a really good indication that we want it to be for us. And when we say it's all right for her, it moves us away from maybe doing the work and looking inside around what is it about that that I want? And am I willing to do what it takes? Which isn't always about doing more work but it's like, am I willing to let go of things? Am I willing to sacrifice? Am I willing to have difficult conversations? Because that kind of it's all right for her comment can be a really good way of going, actually, I want that for me. And the other thing I talk about in the book is that there are women, there will always be women or always be business owners and non-binary people that have more money and always people that have less.
Yeah.
And there are people that have less money that will leave jobs all the time, especially those where their identity is not attached to their title. They're literally like, I just put food on the table. I don't care what the job is. I just put money on the table to look after my family so we can go on a holiday once a year or whatever that is. And if I don't feel good in a place or if it's toxic, I will leave because my identity is not tied to it. What I am tied to is my safety. Whereas other people, their identity is so tied to their work. And I've worked with many clients over the years where their their attachment to their work is costing them every other thing that we need as human beings to feel whole and complete in the world. Their mental health, their well-being, their relationships, their joy, their creativity, all of that goes out of the window because for them and because of the world that we live in, they are attached to my value comes from what I do. So I will keep doing because I need to feel valued, even if it is costing me the things I value.
Okay, we can just end right there, Kemi, because oh, that right there, that is powerful. Somebody needs to hear that. I need to hear that. And you explain that really, really well in the book as well, Grounded Success. You do that so beautifully. And I mean, I could dig deeper into that, but I really want to ask a question about identity, race, navigating race as a Black woman living in Australia.
Yeah.
What has having power and success taught you as a Black woman living in Australia?
That it doesn't make a difference.
Ooh, say more.
Oh, I've had some heartbreakingly brought me to my knees experiences of racism this year. And I was saying to a friend the other day, I think the older I'm getting, the more exhausting I'm finding it. I find it harder to recover. Um, I remember hearing a basketball player, African American, and he just said, doesn't matter how much money you put into charity, doesn't matter the work you do, doesn't matter if you're a good parent, doesn't matter if you're a great neighbor, it does not matter. If you are a Black person navigating white spaces, and for him, it was like, I'm going to get pulled over. It doesn't
Mm.
matter. Um, So it's yeah, as you know, it's a multi-complex layered question, but it kind of doesn't make a difference. It does give me some level of safety and protection in some arenas, but generally in the world, no, it doesn't make a difference. People in a world where white supremacy reigns and
Mhm.
whiteness reigns, those of us that don't navigate the world in those skins, it doesn't really matter what we do. But it doesn't, and um the constant reckoning
Mhm.
I find is that then we have to decide whether we're going to do it anyway. And then the energy that that takes,
Yes.
the energy to rise again, the
Yes.
energy like, okay, okay, so that, okay, right, okay. And sometimes it isn't rising. Sometimes it's the actually um, just having to literally like nourish your heart and your soul. And a big thing that I'm learning though, and I know this is, one of the reasons I love your work so much, Annie, a really big thing for me is that I don't, when I have encountered these racists, and all of this, all of the racism that I've experienced this year has all been from good people, right? This
Mm.
isn't rednecks shouting things out to me. And the harmful thing about the good people that are racist is that they don't think they have any reckoning, right? Um, is
Yeah.
that I don't do the work anymore. So I used to do the work. I used to try and make them feel better about what they had said or what they had done, and I would do the work and, the whole good girl thing.
Mm.
And I don't do the work anymore. So that kind of gives me a little bit more energy back.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, you've touched on something really, really necessary to be heard because this is something I feel like I am just preaching about all the time. It's not those who are outwardly racist, who
Oh,
know they are racist and they,
yeah.
in fact, okay, it's good that
Yeah.
we know that is what you stand for.
That's right.
It's the ones who think I'm one of the good ones,
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
part of this group. I have friends who are black, and so I don't even need to do this work because I'm good. Those are my people. Those are the people who I work with.
Yeah.
You need to do this work even more
Yeah.
because there's this kind of cloud
That's right.
that you're thinking that you're one of the good, so you don't need to do the work. Whereas this work is ongoing, and even for us as people of color, as black people, it
Yeah.
is ongoing
It
work.
is ongoing and it's exhausting. And I wish it wasn't like it. I wish it
Mhm.
wasn't, but
Mhm.
it is. And that's the thing that for me, the ongoing work though is not doing the work for people. You know,
Oh, yes.
I just like to point people in the right direction. I
Yeah.
point them to you or I point them to a couple of books. But that is it. It's like, I don't need you reporting to me about the work you've done. Like, I
Yeah.
cannot carry, I have to carry my black body through
Mhm.
the white world all the time. I do not have the capacity to carry you as well. So do your work, I'll do my work. Hopefully we can meet again and who knows what that will do.
Oh, wow. Oh, gosh. And I think that is also a coming of age thing. Like it comes with age, it comes with
Yeah.
maturity, it comes
Yeah.
with
Comes
I'm
with perimenopause.
the surprise and delight of that. Hey.
Yeah.
Okay, as we kind of bring this to a close, and of course, I don't want to. I could keep talking to you about
Yeah, I
this.
could talk to you for ages. Yeah.
Um,
That's okay. I'm going to come to your house for dinner now that you've upped your cooking skills.
and my baking skills as well.
Oh, and your baking
You better.
skills.
I know you love a good cake, so
I do.
it will not be a sharp,
It will
tarty.
not be a tart. Yeah, it will not be a tart orange, too bitter orange cake.
It'll be good.
Yeah.
What is one thing that you would like readers to take away from Grounded Success? I know you say, cultivating success on her own terms, but as you're
Mm.
writing it, what's one thing you're just like, I just want people to get this?
I know exactly what I want to say, but I also want to give it a caveat before I say it because I know it's so hard for people to actually inhale and actually hold in our hearts and in our bodies. And that is that to the listener, to you, Annie, to me, that we are enough, that you are enough. And the systems that we have to operate in only operate because they tell us all the time that we are not. And we leave our bodies and we leave our lives and we leave being grounded and being present and connected because we think we're not enough. But we are enough. So then if we go in with, well, I am enough, and then how do I want to contribute to the world? It's a very different energy and it's a practice.
Mm, it's a practice. It's
Mm,
an energy. It is a practice.
mm,
I love your work. I love your writing in particular. And I want to gift the listeners this book. So if you're listening,
mm.
can you just slide into my DMs on Instagram at annie.gishuru and tag Kemi as well and tell us what's your biggest takeaway from listening to this conversation? What are you walking away with, or what are you hoping to dig into in this book? Because I want to gift you this and I want to get 10 books, Kemi, if I can. I would love to get 10. I did the same thing with power. I got 10.
Mm.
And I want to do the same. I want to get 10 more. So, hit me up. Let me know. I'll be sharing with school moms as well. I will be sharing it with the people in my sphere, clients coming at you. So please, do tell me what you're taking away from, do tell us what you're taking away from this conversation, because I think this is a book that will bring you back to yourself. It will bring you back home and remind you that yes, you are enough, but success on your own terms.
Mm.
We need that.
Beautiful, beautiful roundup, Annie.
Last question. How was
Mm.
that one?
Yeah.
If fear was not a factor, how do you think you might show up in your work more?
Oh, I am doing it. Yeah. I was talking to my husband the other day. I take risks all the time. I am not someone that gets bogged down in the how. That's the thing about intuitively. So starting this flower farm, right? I'm harvesting peonies every day. Actually, look,
Oh gosh.
right?
Hello.
This is called red charm. That one's a bit blown out, but this is where is it?
Oh,
There we go. Look at that. Look at that,
oh,
right?
that's beautiful.
I am someone that I take risks and I work out the how, and I trust my intuition. So yeah, still I show up with fear. I think that's my answer. I show up with fear. Like I show up with fear, and I have never actually regretted doing that.
Oh
Yeah.
wow. Okay, you show up with fear. Fear is your friend, Elizabeth
Yeah.
Gilbert style. It's in the back seat. It's there with
Yeah,
you.
that's right. It's in the back
Yeah.
seat. Yeah. And being able to name it, that's a lot of the work I love doing with my clients is name the feeling. What is it?
Mhm.
It's like, I am scared and, I am scared and, it's like, okay, yep, great. I hear you. It is scary.
It is
Are you
scary.
going to do it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Becomes the question.
Wow, thank you, Kemi, for inspiring us. Thank you for existing. And I don't say this lightly because I know the first time I saw you as a Black woman, no hair, I was like, who is this woman? And you became like my Paula Sutton. I know how Paula Sutton has inspired you, like when it came to buying the flower farm. And I just felt like you were a depiction of something I did not know existed but gave me permission to dream bigger.
Yeah.
It allowed me to feel like I could occupy some spaces where I felt like I couldn't. You gave me permission in so many ways. And I remember so many years ago sending you that email,
Yeah.
trembling, going like, I'm gonna send her an email and it's okay, even though she doesn't write back. My husband's like, who's that? And I'm like, she's changed my life. It's like, okay. And you wrote back. I think I was more surprised receiving the email than pressing send.
Mhm.
And, that's how our journey began. And I just wanted to bring this full circle and just say thank you for existing because it's allowed me to occupy space here differently and more grounded in my success and in my power.
Beautiful.
Thank
And
you.
thank you, Annie. Thank you for the work that you're doing. I mean, thank you for that email. It allowed us to work together and now we have this friendship. So thank you for the work that you're doing in Australia, especially at this time. Very needed. And you do it with such grace and such compassion, which is why I love sharing your work with others.
Thank you, Kemi Nekvapil.
Take care.
We are represented. We are represented. We are represented.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button and leave a review so this podcast can reach more online business owners, and together we can begin to normalize racial inclusion in the online coaching space. I'd love to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land where this podcast episode was recorded, the Wurundjeri people in central New South Wales, Australia. Music produced in Nairobi, Kenya by Patrick St. P. Mbaru and Kambua Mathu. Vocals by Joanne Matata.
Represented from coast to coast.